Shalom Makayams. First I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kodash, Tawada, Amen. Shalom to the Akiyams out here, double orders to the orders of GMS, and double orders to all the camps on the highways and byways, bringing out the word in truth and spirit and sincerity. In the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kodash, Tawada, Amen. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai. Okay, today I want to talk a little bit about the Ark of the Covenant. I want to talk a little bit about one of the most sacred things that he asked Moses to build out in the wilderness when they were delivered from the Egyptians. And as you know, the Ark of the Covenant was a powerful weapon and a holy, sacred weapon that was built by Moses, the Israelites, to guide them through their wars that they had against the different nations, basically, on their way to the promised land. When Moses was taking the children of Israel through the wilderness, he spent 40 years in the wilderness, and then, as you know, Joshua was the one that took over from Moses when Moses died, because Moses never ever entered the land of Israel. It was Joshua that delivered the children of Israel into the land of Israel, basically, and fought about 30 different nations in securing the land of Israel. And even Joshua wasn't able to secure all of the land of Israel, because some of the other tribes, some Canaanites, were still living in there when we actually got into Israel. But he was able to conquer most of Israel when he finally arrived in the land of Israel. You know, Joshua alongside Caleb. So I want to talk a bit about the Ark of the Covenant and its power, because you hear stories that other nations have this Ark of the Covenant that is sitting somewhere. You know, the Ethiopians claim they've got it in a place called Addis Ababa, and the Ark of the Covenant is there. And as you know, I'm going to show you in the scriptures that no man has the Ark of the Covenant, that it was hidden away during the times of the prophet Jeremiah, Nehemiah, when the Babylonians under Nebuchadnezzar took the Israelites into captivity. The Ark of the Covenant was hidden during that time. Now, Jeremiah the prophet was the one that hid the Ark of the Covenant, and I'm going to show you in scripture where it speaks of that, basically, what he did with the Ark of the Covenant. Because at that time, the temple was being ransacked. Solomon's temple of the Most High, was being ransacked by Nebuchadnezzar. Remember, Nebuchadnezzar took all the gold cups and all of the stuff for worshipping. They took the altar out of there. They ransacked the whole of the temple, basically. Yeah, they ransacked the whole of the temple, Solomon's temple. So Jeremiah, with his wise head, and through prayer, speaking to the Lord, he hid the Ark of the Covenant. And like I say, you have many nations that talk about they've got it. So I'm going to quickly read an article that I pulled up here. Right, this one's on the Smithsonian website, right, which is the museum that you got out there in America. And it says, it's titled "Keepers of the Lost Ark." It says Christians in Ethiopia, because those are the ones that we know as the Falasha Jews. And remember, the word Falasha means false, because they are not the real Jews. They're false Jews, just like those Israelis, Eastern Europeans. Khazars that are living in the land of Israel today, those are false Jews as well. It says Christians in Ethiopia have long claimed to have the Ark of the Covenant, right? This is what the reporters investigated. So I'm going to read a little bit of the article. It says, they shall make an ark of acacia wood, the Most High commanded Moses in the book of Exodus, which is what I spoke about earlier, after delivering the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. Right? And as you know, and so the Israelites built the ark, and the chest of gilding was inside, right? So this is what I spoke about earlier, and it was inscribed with the 10 Commandments, which were there's 613 commandments, but those were the 10 commandments that kind of, in a sense, was over the 613, that covered the 613. But when you went into the statutes, the laws and statutes, there were 613 laws, commandments and statutes that the Most High gave to Moses, right? And that Moses delivered to the children of Israel. It says, It says that in the article, it says, thus the ark was worshipped by the Israelites as an embodiment of the Most High himself. It says biblical and other archaic sources speak of the ark blazing with fire and light, right? Stopping rivers, blasting whole armies, and so forth. And as you can remember, Steven Spielberg made a film called Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they in the film they were saying, they found the ark, kind of thing. But I'm going to show you that no man can touch that ark but a Levite, a priest, or a prophet. Right? This ain't for any person. Not any Israelite can touch the ark of the covenant. Right? The ark of the covenant. Only the priest of Israel, which were the Levites, or a prophet of Israel, could actually put his hand on that ark. Just so you know that. So when you saw that film Raiders of the Lost Ark, that was Steven Spielberg basically giving his depiction of the so-called white man Esau Edom finding the ark. Because believe me this when I tell you, they are looking for the ark hard, these devils, because they know the power that it possesses. But like I said, no man can touch this. Only a Levite priest or a prophet of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, the Lord, can actually physically put his hand on this ark. All right? It says, according to the first book of Kings, King Solomon built the first temple in Jerusalem to house the ark. It was venerated there during Solomon's reign around 970 to 930 BC. So that's where its permanent place was. It was in other places before it got to, before Solomon built the temple. The ark had lived in a tent, right, sacred tent that the Israelites had built while they was on their way to the promised land, and it was in a couple, I think it was in one of the prophets' houses for a little while. Spent some time in the house, but it was never actually, where was I? It didn't get into the temple until Solomon had built the temple for the Most High. Because remember, David couldn't build the house of the Most High. All right? It says, then it vanished, right? It says, then it vanished. Much of Jewish tradition, right, holds that it disappeared before or while the Babylonians sacked the temple in Jerusalem 586 BC. And that's when it did disappear, when the Babylonians, which was under Nebuchadnezzar, that's when Jeremiah hid the ark. So this is an actual fact that they're showing you here. All right, that's when the ark was taken away by Jeremiah, and I'm going to show you in the scripture. It says, but through the centuries, Ethiopians, Christians, have claimed that the ark rests in a chapel in a small town of Axum in their country's northern highlands. It arrived nearly 3,000 years ago, they say, and has been guarded by a succession of virgin monks who, once anointed, are forbidden to set foot outside the chapel grounds until they die. Now, we know, for one, they're saying 3,000 years ago. We know 3,000 years ago the ark was sitting in Solomon's temple, in the Most High's temple. And the ark was there and had always been there right up until the invasion of the Babylonians under Nebuchadnezzar around 600 BC. All right? That's when it stayed there. So for them to say 3,000 years, it's been sitting in this temple in Axum, in Ethiopia for 3,000 years, as you can see, is total BS, because the ark did not leave Solomon's temple until Nebuchadnezzar ransacked the temple, right, and stole out all of the treasury, the wealth, the gold, the silver, and all of the ornaments and all of the holy cups and vessels that was inside Solomon's temple. He stole and brought them to Babylon. All right, so this is where you know straight away this is a lie for them to be saying they've had it for 3,000 years. But listen to what they're going to tell you. This is what they're saying. It says here, one of the first things that caught my eye in Addis Ababa, the country's capital, was an enormous concrete pillar topped by a giant red star, the sort of monument to communism still visible in Pyongyang, right? It was something that the North Koreans had built in Ethiopia during their Marxist years, around 1974 to 1990. That was when the North Koreans were allies of the Marxist government, the communist government that ruled Ethiopia. All right, they were the ones that took down Haile Selassie's government. Right, the ones that these dumbwits think goes back to the line of Yahweh Shai and come from the tribe of Judah. He's not. He's an East Indian. All right, Haile Selassie, who went to Jamaica and preaching, and all these Rastas talk about Haile Selassie, President Selassie. Total bullshit. Haile Selassie is an East Indian. who had an Ethiopian mother. His father was East Indian, who was raised in Ethiopia. That's another story that people tell, believe that he goes back to the line of King Solomon. He's got nothing to do with the tribe of Judah, nothing to do with Solomon, nothing to do with King David, just so you know, all right? It says here, we're going to keep read a bit more. It says, the most prominent of their victims was Emperor Haile Selassie. That was during the taking down of his government by the new Marxist government in Ethiopia in 1975. It says whose death under circumstances that remain contested was announced in 1975. So that's when he was killed, right? That's when Ethiopia became ruled by a communist government, all right? Just so you understand. It says he was the last emperor of Ethiopia, and he claimed, just like I said, he claimed to be the 225th monarch descended from Menelik, the ruler believed responsible for Ethiopia's possession of the Ark of the Covenant in the 10th century BC. So Menelik is this another story that these Ethiopians, and that's been going around the world for decades now, that he's the son of Queen of Sheba, and when the Queen of Sheba went and visited Solomon, which she did, and brought him plenty gifts and wealth and perfume and gold and all sorts of stuff, and spent time there, he did not lie down with her, he did not have a child with her, and if he did, that child could never have left Israel to go back with his mother back to Ethiopia. She came, she spent maybe 6 months, a year there, and then she went back to Ethiopia, all right? She was a Queen of Sheba. Now, if she had a son named Menelik, that was from another person. That was from an Ethiopian or someone. That was nothing to do with King Solomon. Queen of Sheba did not have a child for King Solomon. And when you read that in the, I think it's in the 1 Kings chapter 10, it speaks about the visit that she made, all right? And we might just touch that a little bit into that to get understanding of that. It says here, the story is told, right? This is what they say, in the Kebra Nagast, all right? So it says the story was told in the Kebra Nagast, the glory of the kings. It says Ethiopia's chronicle of its line, so it says Ethiopia's chronicle of its royal line. So the Kebra Nagast is the glory of the kings. It tells about the Ethiopians' chronicle of their royal line. It says the Queen of Sheba, one of the first rulers, traveled to Jerusalem to partake of King Solomon's wisdom, and on her way home she bore Solomon's son, Menelik. So that's a lie. She didn't bear no son. Solomon didn't lie down with her, and she didn't bear no children for Solomon, all right? But this is what they say. Right, this is another fairy tale story that they put out there. It says later Menelik went to visit his father, all right? So apparently he went to visit his father, and on his return journey was accompanied by the firstborn sons of some Israelite nobles who, unbeknown to Menelik, this is the story that they've made up, stole the ark and carried it with them to Ethiopia. Now, do you really believe that someone could just walk into the temple, right, of the Most High, all right, of Solomon's temple, right, and just somehow do a cat burglar and steal the ark and bring it out and bring it all the way to Ethiopia, and that King Solomon, when at that time Israel was at the height of his power, because his father King David had put down all of the nations that surrounded Israel, and they were paying tribute to Israel, right? They had to give money to Israel every year, a yearly tribute to Israel and so forth, because King David was the warlord, was the war king. He was the one that put down all of the surrounding enemies, the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Edomites. He put them all down till they became subservient to the kingdom of Israel. So why during Solomon's rule, there was peace for 40 years. Do you really believe that someone could have just walked in, right? That Menelik, his so-called son Menelik, would have came to visit his dad and conspired with some nobles, right? Some Israelite nobles to steal the ark and bring it back to some place in Ethiopia. But this is the story that they tell. And like I say again, that story is a lie, an absolute lie. There is no truth in that story. It's an absolute lie. No one could ever walk into that temple and steal that ark. And I'm going to show you why, all right? First, I'm going to show you that the ark has been hidden since the times of the Babylonians, all right? So I'm going to go to scripture now, right? This is We just finish read what it says there. Sorry, I'm just going to finish read what it says in this article, right? Then I'm going to go to scripture, right? It says, later Menelik went to visit his father, right? We go back to where it says that, right? Which is supposed to be Solomon, right? And on his return journey was accompanied by the firstborn sons of some Israelite nobles who, unbeknown to Menelik, stole the ark and carried it with them to Ethiopia. When Menelik learned of the theft, he reasoned that since the ark's frightful powers hadn't destroyed his retinue, so they know the ark's got these powers, right? So somehow they believe that it just didn't work when they came to steal it, right? But listen, it says it must be the most. It said, this is what he's supposed to have said. It must be God's will that it remains with him, all right? So. Rules. Yeah. Anyway, so let's go to scripture, right? Let's see what the Most High. Let's see what the scripture says about the Ark of the Covenant. So first, we're going to go to what happened to the Ark. All right, we're going to start there, and then we're going to go to. I'm going to show you a couple scriptures to do with the power of the Ark. That no man can just come and touch this thing, right? Just to show you that a lot of these stories, these are like so-called biblical stories that go around, that have been around for decades, that people just take as gospel because they have no knowledge in terms of knowing the Bible, what it says about the Ark of the Covenant, and that something like that, someone just walking into Solomon's temple, right, and conspiring with some Israelite nobles and stealing the Ark, bringing it back to Ethiopia, just like that, and nothing was done. That Solomon would have just sat there. Solomon would have gathered the whole 12 tribes, the amount of lamenting there would have been in Israel if that had happened. The minute the high priest would have saw that the ark was gone, right? Probably would have been with hours, because they're always doing daily sacrifices in Solomon's temple. The amount of lamenting that would have been going on, right, in Israel. Solomon would have gathered the 12 tribes and the army that he would have put together to come to Ethiopia. He would have destroyed and killed every last one of those Ethiopians, from the Queen of Sheba going down, to retain back the ark, to bring it back to the temple. The Most High's, this is the Most High's power, right? There's no way. That's why you got to know that those things are fairy tale stories. But like I said, we're going to show you in scripture, right? So you get an understanding. So first we're going to start in the book of Maccabees, right? 2nd Maccabees chapter 2, all right? Now I'm going to start at the very top, all right? I'm going to read a few verses down. It says, it is also found in the records, right? Listen carefully, all right? It is also found in the records that Jeremiah the prophet commanded them that were carried away to take of the fire as it has been signified, all right? And how the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Lord, and that they should not err in their minds when they see images of silver and gold with their ornaments. So what Jeremiah was saying to the people, look, this prophecy, because remember the Lord brought this prophecy to Jeremiah, that the Israelites were going into captivity for 70 years under the Babylonians, that they just had to go. No matter where they tried to run to, they were going to be taken into captivity, right? And if they refused that, then they would die to the countries that they're going to be trying to run to escape to, all right? So Jeremiah basically was saying to the children of Israel, when you go into captivity under these Babylonians, then, right, do not forget your laws, commandments, and statutes. That's why you can read about the story of Daniel in Daniel chapter 1, and him, Meshach, Shadrach, and when they refused to take the food, if you remember, in Daniel chapter 1, it was Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, and they wanted to give them the pork, and they refused to take the food, basically, in that. So that was, in a sense, them remembering their laws, commandments, and statutes. That was a perfect example in Daniel chapter 1. I don't need to read it, but it's in the book of Daniel chapter 1, and it talks about how Daniel refused to eat the foods that the Babylonians were giving them, and they said that they'd rather just eat the vegetables and that. the Babylonian guy who was in charge of them was frightened that if they was only eating those vegetables that they wouldn't look healthy when they come in front of Nebuchadnezzar. All right, so you got to remember that Daniel refused to eat the foods that the Babylonians were giving them, because a lot of the foods were abominations basically in that, and he was allowed to eat the vegetables and that he said. And when they came in front of the king's nobles and the king himself, they looked more healthier than all the other people that was eating those wicked foods. Right, so that's in the book of Daniel chapter 1. So this is what Jeremiah was basically saying to the Israelites: don't forget your laws, commandments and statutes when you go under captivity under these Babylonians. Right, so we're still in the book of Maccabees, 2 Maccabees chapter 2 verse 3, and it says, and with other such speeches exhorted he them that the law should not depart from their hearts. Right, you see that? So he would have given a speech to them to say that the laws do not depart from his heart. All right, so let's just quickly set something here. That's the speech he would have given. Where are we? Okay, no, that's fine. All right, so that's what he would have said to them basically. He would have given them a speech saying that the law would not depart from their heart. All right. So then he says, so we're in verse 4 now. He says, where are we? It says, it was also contained in the same writings. All right, so we're talking about the same writings that we spoke about in verse 1, when it said it was found in the records. So these are the records. This is what the Israelites recorded, just like how the Israelites had recorded who belonged to what families when they went into captivity. All right, they recorded what tribes each of the Israelites came from when they went into captivity. All right, so this would have been recorded to. It says here in verse 4. It says it was also contained in the same writings that the prophet, being warned of the Most High. So the Most High had warned, the same writings that the Most High gave Jeremiah, all right, to tell the Israelites about their captivity. He also gave him these, right? He says, it was also contained in the same writings that the prophet, being warned of the Most High, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth into the mountain. So he was told to take the ark, right, of the covenant, right, the tabernacle. He commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him as he went forth into the mountain, where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of the Most High. So what mountain is that? That's talking about Mount Sinai. That's the mountain where Moses climbed up and got the laws, commandments and statutes, the tabernacle that he put inside the ark, the 2 stones that had the commandments, had the 10 main commandments on them. All right, and that's what was inside the ark. So Jeremiah was told to bring the same ark up into the mountains that Moses had received the tabernacle to go into the ark. So let me just quickly, let's quickly go to here 1 minute. 1 second, people. Come on. I'm a bit slow today. Do it from here. That's Joshua 6 we were going to start, wasn't it? Okay, all right, that's fine. One search here, one search. Oops. Just a quick look up here. Tabernacle. Right, so that's what the ark was put in, all right? Just was quickly looking it up here. Right, okay. Okay, so that's what the ark was in. So it's referred to as the tabernacle as well. Just wanted to confirm that here. I'm looking it up in the book of Exodus chapter 26 verse 23. All right. So it says here. It says, and so in verse 5, so we're still in the book of Maccabees, 2 Maccabees chapter 2 verse 5. It says, and when Jeremiah came thither, he found a hollow cave wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark, right, and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door. So he's going to have the tabernacle would be to do with also the altar that they did the sacrifices on. Let me just bring this out here, 1 second. Tabernacle. So that would have been the altar as well. Part of the tabernacle would be the altar as well, which they use to do the sacrifices on, all right? Come on, this is taking so long to... The reception's so bad up here, boy. Wait for that to come up. That'll come up in a minute, all right? So, he took all of these up into the mountains, right? Into Mount Sinai. And it says... Okay, we got there. 1 second. It's really moving slow today, boy. Right, leave that. Don't worry about that. Anyway, so he's taken the tabernacle, the Ark of the Covenant, the altar, right, which is a table that they use to sacrifice. They do the daily sacrifice on up into Mount Sinai. All right. So we go back to verse 5. So it says, and when Jeremiah came thither, he found an hollow cave. So he found a hollow cave wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door. All right, verse 6 says, and some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it. All right, so they even tried to mark the way which led them to it. All right, but once they had come back down the mountain, they could not find the marks that led them up to where they had hid the ark, the tabernacle, right, the Ark of the Covenant, the tabernacle, right, and the incense, the altar of incense, the table that they used to sacrifice on, right? It says, so verse 7 says, which when Jeremiah perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for that place, it shall be unknown, right? This is what Jeremiah says. As for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that the Most High gathers his people. Who are his people? Latinos, Hispanics, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, African Americans, West Indians and Caribbeans, all those that descend from the transatlantic slave trade, right? And were scattered to the four corners of the world. Listen carefully. It says, start back at the top of verse 7. It says, which when Jeremiah perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that the Most High gather his people again, right? Listen carefully. Together, which means all the 12 tribes, right? And receive them unto mercy, which is the salvation that we're waiting on, all right? Then shall the Lord, listen carefully, show them that these things, right? It says, then shall the Lord show them these things, which would include the Ark of the Covenant, the tabernacle, the table of incense, all the things that Jeremiah hid from the Babylonians, right? In around 600 BC. It says, then shall the Lord show them these things, and the glory of the Lord shall appear. What's the glory of the Lord? His chariots. His chariots, what the world calls UFOs. And watch how this is going to explain this to you. All right? It says, then shall the Lord show them these things, and the glory of the Lord shall appear, and the cloud also as it was showed under Moses. So what was that cloud that appeared over Moses? That was the Lord's chariot. That was the chariots of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. That was Yahushai's chariot that came over Mount Sinai. That was Yahushai's chariot that guided the Israelites through the wilderness 40 days for 40 years. Where it was a pillar of fire by night and a pillar of smoke by day. That was the chariot. That's the glory of the Lord, are his chariots. So it says here, It says, start again at verse 8. It says, then shall the Lord show them these things, and the glory of the Lord shall appear, and the cloud also, as it was, showed under Moses, and as when Solomon desired that the place might be honorably sacrificed. Because remember, the cloud came over, the chariot came over Solomon's temple when it was built, when it was first built, and when the priests were going in to sanctify it and so forth, and when the Ark of the Covenant was finally brought into it. So when people say, and you hear these stories talking about the chariots being here and there, and talking about the Ark of the Covenant being here or there, or it's hidden in Addis Ababa, they've got it, the Ethiopians have got it, and this and that. It's never the case. It's never the case. Never the case. Simple as that. So let's just put this one out again. 1 second. That's we're gonna go to where is it? Just showing ago, Samuel. So we're just gonna show. We're gonna make it quite clear to you. We're gonna show you. We're gonna show you exactly how powerful this ark is. So let me just quickly go into, where are we? We're going to go into, where do I want to start? We're in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 4. So chapter 4 I'm going to go to. Yeah, first, yeah. 1 Samuel chapter 4. So it says here, 1 Samuel chapter 4, verse 4, all right? It says, so the people sent to Shiloh, remember? So Shiloh was the original holy place that the scriptures speaks of, all right? As you know, all right? That's where Jacob dwelt for a little while, in Shiloh, all right? So it says there, so the people sent to Shiloh that they might bring from thence the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth between the cherubims, and that the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of the Most High, all right? Because that's where it dwelt originally, right? And when the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel shouted with a great shout, so that the earth rang again. So when it first came into the camp of where the Israelites were, all right, all of Israel shouted with a great shout. So you can imagine when they talk about, when Mennonites talk about they stole it from Solomon's temple. That would have been after this, right? Because this is before Solomon's temple was built. Could you imagine that they would have known that was gone within hours? It's impossible, because the high priests were always in Solomon's temple, always in there. So there's no way that could have ever been taken out, right? So this is just when the ark's coming into Israel from Shiloh, right? Coming into the camp where the Israelites were. So we're going to jump down to, and we'll continue reading. So we're still in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 4, verse 6. It says, and when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, what meaneth this noise of this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews? And they understood that the ark of the Lord was coming into the camp. And the Philistines were afraid, for they said, the Most High is come into the camp, all right? And they said, woe unto us, for there has not been such a thing therefore. Woe unto us, who shall deliver us out of the hand of these mighty gods, right? So we've always say this as well, that they always know that we were the children of the Most High, right? That we were the children of the powers, right? Anyway, it says, these are the gods that smote the Egyptians, because everybody knew what we did to. You see, the story of the Egyptians back in biblical times, right, was well known across Mesopotamia, across the Fertile Crescent, across all of what we know today as the Middle East, going further east, up in the Mediterranean. It was known. Everyone knew about on the continent of Africa. Everyone knew what happened to the Egyptians. Everyone knew about the story of the great deliverance of the children of Israel. This wasn't no Only the Israelites and Egyptians knew about this. All the other nations knew about this, from the Hittites, the Moabites, the Ammonites. All the other nations knew about this. The Philistines, everyone knew about this. That's why they feared Israel. So it says here, verse 9 says, be strong and quit yourselves like men, O you Philistines, that ye be not servants unto the Hebrews, as they have been to you. Quit yourselves like men and fight. And the Philistines fought, and Israel was smitten, and they fled every man into his tent. And there was a very great slaughter of them that fell of Israel, 30,000 footmen. And the ark of the Most High was taken, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were slain. So the Philistines took the ark at that time, all right? But the Most High had something in store for them once they took the ark, just to show you that no man can just take the ark and talking about they sitting on it. It's been this story about Menelik and some Israelite nobles stole the ark out of Solomon's temple, and it's been sitting in Aksum in Ethiopia for 3,000 years, just to show you that that's total bullshit, right? The Philistines stole the ark at one point from the Israelites, right? And this is what happened to them. So we're going to jump to 1 Samuel chapter 5. So we're still in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 5, but we're going to start at the very top. It says, and the Philistines took the ark of the Most High and brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. When the Philistines took the ark of the Most High, they brought it into the house of Dagon, which is one of their house of worship, their idolatries, what they worship. Dagon was one of the Philistines' god, all right? And remember, the Philistines are Hamites. They descend from Ham, from Cush, right? They are Hamites, right? Just so you understand, they are Africans, all right? It says, when the Philistines took the ark of the Most High, they brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon, which is like a statue, right? Which, because they worship, they make statues of gods and they worship them and they give them names, right? This is where they put the ark, right next to the statue. It says, and when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord. And they took Dagon and set him in his place again. So when they came the next day, they saw that the statue that they had was fallen bang on its face, right? So they set it up again the next day, right? It says, and when they arose early on the morrow, right? Tomorrow on the morrow morning, the next day, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord. And the head of Dagon and both the palms of his hands were cut off upon the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left to him, right? So all the parts of him was cut off, his head, his arms, everything. It was just a stump left, like there's just a body part left, right? Verse 5 says, therefore, neither the priests of Dagon, nor any that come into Dagon's house, tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod unto this day. But the hand of the Lord was heavy upon them of Ashdod. Because that's where the Philistines were based, in Ashdod, right? They controlled that part. It was a little part of Israel. It's on the coast called Ashdod, right? It says, but the hand of the Lord was heavy upon them of Ashdod, and he destroyed them and smote them with emerods, even Ashdod and the coast thereof. So the Most High destroyed many of the Philistines on the coast, right, in Ashdod, right? And he smote them with emerods, right? And when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said, the ark of the Most High, the ark of the God of Israel, I'm going to read it verbatim, shall not abide with us, for his hand is sore upon us and upon Dagon our God, which is their idolatry god that they worship. But people were dying in droves in the town of Ashdod on the coast there that the Philistines occupied, right? It says, they sent therefore and gathered all the lords of the Philistines unto them and said, what shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel? And they answered, let the ark of the God of Israel be carried about unto Gath. And they carried the ark of the God of Israel about thither. And it was so that after they had carried it about, the hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great destruction. And he smote the men of the city, both small and great, and they had emeralds in the secret parts. So even when they brought it to the city of Gath, which was another Philistine city, right? The Most High smote tens of thousands of men, women, and children in that city of Gath and killed them because they were still, the Philistines were still physically in the possession of the ark. So I go back to what I said earlier. If the Ethiopians had possession of the ark, which they claimed to, from They said they've had it for 3,000 years since the Queen of Sheba visited Solomon, and she so-called bare a son called Melanic. And then when Melanic came back to visit his father 20 years later, he stole the ark. That the Israelite nobles conspired to steal the ark and left Israel with Melanic and brought it to Ethiopia. Right? And they said it's been sitting there for 3,000 years. That place would have been completely wiped out. It would be uninhabitable today if the Ark of the Covenant was in there, because we're showing you quite clearly here. These are two cities of the Philistines, and these two cities are actually in Israel, Gath and Ashdod, but they were occupied by the Philistines, right? So when the Philistines had stolen the Ark from out of the Israelites' camp from Shiloh, right, and brought it to where they had their garrisons and their people lived and occupied, the Most High killed tens of thousands of them in Ashdod, and he also killed tens of thousands of them in Gath, right? So let me just continue reading to show you, right? So we're still in verse 9. So we're still in the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 5, verse 9. And it says, and it was so that after they had carried it about, the hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great destruction, and he smote the men of the city, both small and great, and they had emeralds in their secret parts, right? Therefore they sent the ark of God to Ekron, and it came to pass, as the ark of God, of the Most High, came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying, all praises to Yahweh Shem Yahushua Bashim Rukar Kodash, right? The Ekronites, which is another Philistine city, right? The Ekronites cried out, saying, they have brought about the ark. They have brought about the ark of the God of Israel to us, to slay us and our people. So they was bawling, right? Because I'm already hear about the story about the ark being in Gath and the ark of the Most High being in Ashdod, right? So they said they brought about the ark. They brought about the ark to slay us and our people, right? So they sent and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines and said, send away the ark of God of Israel and let it go again to his own place. And where is his own place? Back amongst the children of Israel. And it would have been back to Shiloh, right? So it says, let it go again to his own place, that it slay us not and our people. Let me read this again. They said, so they sent and gathered. So 1 Samuel chapter 5 verse 11. So they sent and gathered, right, together all the lords of the Philistines and said, send away the ark of the God of Israel and let it go again to his own place, that it slay us not and our people, for there was a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of God was very heavy there. You understand when I tell you they're talking about tens of thousands of people were dying, right? And the men that died not were smitten with, it says, and the men that died not were smitten with the emeralds, and the cry of the city went up to heaven, right? So then Baal. So that just totally shows you, kills the story about them having this Ark of the Covenant in this place called Ascon in Ethiopia, basically, amongst these Falasha Jews. It just shows you that no nation can possess this power, because this Ark of the Covenant can only dwell, amongst the children of Israel. Just so you know. So I'm going to quickly read a couple more, put a couple more precepts here for you. See if let's quickly read. So just quickly read a bit in chapter 6. So we're still in 1 Samuel's chapter 6 now, right? Verse 1. It says, and the ark of the Lord was in the country of the Philistines 7 months. Only 7 months it was in the country of the Philistines, right? In those 3 different cities, from Ashdod to Gath to Ekron, right? Listen carefully. Verse 2. So book of 1 Samuel chapter 6, verse 2. It says, and the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners, saying, what shall we do to the ark of the Lord? Tell us wherewith we shall send it to his place. And they said, if you send away the ark of the God of Israel, send it not empty. Listen carefully. But in any wise return him a trespass offering, right? Then ye shall be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand is not removed from you. Then they said, what shall be the trespass offering which we shall return to him? They answered, 5 golden emerods and 5 golden mice, according to the number of the laws of the Philistines. For one plague was on you all, for one plague was on you all and on your lords. Wherefore you shall make images of your emerods and images of your mice that mar the land, and ye shall give glory unto the God of Israel. Peradventure he will lighten his hand from off you, and from off your gods, and from off your land. Wherefore then do you harden your hearts? Listen carefully. It says, wherefore then do you harden your hearts as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts? And when he had wrought wonderfully among them, did they not let the people go, and they departed? Now therefore make a new cart, and take 2 milk kines on which thou hast come no yoke, and tie the kine to the cart, and bring their calves home from them, and take the ark of the Lord, and lay it upon the cart, and put the jewels of gold which ye return him for a trespass offering in a coffer, right, by the side thereof, and send it away that it may go. And see if it goes up by the way of his own coast to Beth-shemesh, that he has done us this great evil. But if not, then we shall know that it was not in his hand that smote us. It was a chance that happened to us. All right, and the men did so, and took 2 milk kines, all right, which are like donkeys, right, and tied them to the cart, and shut up their calves at home. And they laid the ark of the Lord upon the cart, and the coffer with the mice of gold and images of their emeralds. And the kine took the straight way to the way of Beth-shemesh, and went along the highway, lowering as they went, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. And the lords of Philistines went after them unto the border of Beth-shemesh, and they of Beth-shemesh were reaping their wheat harvest in the valley. And they lifted up their eyes and saw the ark, and rejoiced to see it. And the cart came into the field of Joshua, a Beth-shemite, and stood there, and where there was a great stone, and they clave the wood of the cart, and offered the kine a burnt offering unto the Lord. And the Levites, listen carefully, and the Levites took down the ark of the Lord, because only the Levites and the prophets can deal with this. This is what I'm trying to show you. And the Levites took down the ark of the Lord, and the coffer that was with it, wherein the jewels of gold were, and put them on the great stone. And the men of Beth-shemesh offered burnt offerings and sacrifices the same day unto the Lord. And when the 5 lords of the Philistines had seen it, they returned to Ekron the same day. Just to show you, only the Levites can deal with this. I'm going to bring out one more scripture just to show you that. 1 Chronicles. Whoa, that wind is blowing. Can you hear that wind out there? That's why I'm inside there doing it, because there's a heavy bit of wind out there today. There was a bit of rain brushing around. 1 Chronicles chapter 13, I think I want. Yeah, right. So we're going to finish off here, right? Because the point I'm trying to make, I believe I've made it categorically clear that only Israel, only the Levites or the prophets of Israel can handle and deal with this ark, and it could never be sitting in a foreign land, just like how it was sitting in the land of the Philistines, only for 7 months, remember. The Philistines had it for 7 months. These so-called Ethiopians, Falasha Jews, reckon they've had it for 3,000 years. Do you really believe the Most High would have tolerated 3,000 years? He didn't even tolerate 7 months. He wiped out tens of thousands of Philistines in 3 separate cities, just to show them. So, and then when they gave it back, they had to give back only for gold and silver as a trespass offering for having the ark in their possession for 7 months. And it's funny, 7 months they had it, and 7 is what? Perfection for the Lord. The number 7 is perfection. There you go. So we'll finish here. 1 Chronicles chapter 13, the book of 1 Chronicles chapter 13. Right, I'm going to read from the top, right? And David consulted with the captains of thousands and hundreds, with every leader. And David said unto all the congregation of Israel, if it seem good unto you, and that it be of the Lord our power, let us send abroad unto our brethren everywhere that are left in all the land of Israel, and with them also the priests and Levites which are in the cities and suburbs, that they may gather themselves unto us, right? It says, and let us bring again the ark of the Most High to us, for we inquired not at it in the days of Saul, right? Because what we was talking about earlier was in the days of Saul, Samuel and Saul. When we was talking about when Eli's sons had been killed, and the Ark of the Covenant was taken from Eli's two sons, Hophni, and Phoenician, right? They were killed because they were wicked priests. They were going on with some wickedness. They was going on with some nastiness in the temple. That's why they were killed. The Most High put it on that they were going to die anyway, because he told Eli that he's going to take his sons from him because they were going on with some nastiness while they were priests in the temple. All right. So the ark was taken from them by the Philistines before the Philistines returned it back to the Israelites. So we go back to here again when it says this. We're talking about, we're still in the First Chronicles chapter 13 verse 3. It says, and let us bring again the ark of the Most High to us, for we inquired not at it in the days of Saul, which is what I just was speaking about earlier, right? It says, and all the congregation said that they would do so, for the thing that was right in the eyes of all the people. So David gathered all Israel together from Shiloh of Egypt, even unto the entering of Hemath, to bring the ark of the Most High from Kirjath-jearim, which is Baalah, right? It says it here anyway, right? Kirjath-jearim. And David went up, and all Israel, to Baalah, that is to Kirjath-jearim, right? Which belongs to Judah, right? So that was in the land of Judah, all right? To bring up thence the ark of God, the Lord, right? The ark of the Most High, the Yahweh, that dwelleth between the cherubims, whose name is called on it. So his name is on it. Yahweh's name is on it, whose name is called on it. That's why it's called the ark of the Most High, Yahweh, that dwelleth between the cherubims, whose name is called on it. And they carried the ark of the Most High in a new cart out of the house of Abinadab, and Uzzah, right? And Uzzah and Ahio drove the cart. So these two Israelites drove the cart, right? Listen carefully. And David and all Israel played before the Most High, right? With all might, and with singing, and with harps, and with psalteries, right? And with timbrels, and with cymbals, and with trumpets. So they were playing music, they were celebrating, bringing the ark out from where it was, and bringing the ark back into Shiloh. I believe that's where they were bringing it to, right? It should tell us in a little while. Right, or to the city of David they were bringing it to, all right? So it says, and when they came into the threshing floor of Chidon, Uzzah, right? This is one of the men that was on the cart that was bringing the ark back to the city of David, right? So it says, and when they came into the threshing floor of Chidon, Uzzah put forth his hand to hold the ark, for the oxen stumbled, right? So the oxen so we had one man riding the cart and another man was walking beside it. So the oxen must have hit a rock and it stumbled, right? Like going left to right. So Uzzah, the other man, because it was Uzzah and Ahio drove the cart and Uzzah walked alongside it, right? So Ahio, the Israelite, was the one sitting, controlling the donkeys them and riding the two clients, which are donkeys, riding the cart with the Ark of the Covenant on the cart, and Uzzah was walking alongside it, right? So it says there, we go back to verse 9, it says, and when they came unto the threshing floor of Chidon, Uzzah put his hand to hold the ark, for the oxen stumbled, right? Because the oxen had stumbled. And the anger of the Lord of Yahweh was kindled against Uzzah, and he smote him. He killed him dead flat there, just because he put his hands on the Ark of the Covenant, right? And Uzzah was an Israelite. Just so you understand what's going on here, all right? It says, so the Mosai smote him because he put his hand onto the ark, and there he died before the Most High. And David was displeased because the Lord Yahweh had made a breach upon Uzzah, wherefore that place is called Perez Uzzah to this day. And David was afraid of the Most High that day, saying, how shall I bring the ark of the Most High home to me? Because David now, even David himself now is afraid to even touch it after he saw what happened to Uzzah, all right? Because the people that put the ark onto the that put the ark onto the cart were Levite priests. Just so you understand, they were the ones that mounted the ark onto the cart, right? So it says here, so David brought not the ark home to himself to the city of David, but carried it aside into the house of Obededom the Gittite. And the ark of the Most High remained with the family of Obededom in his house 3 months. And the Lord blessed the house of Obededom and all that he had. So it was brought to another man's house for 3 months. Obededom, who probably was a Levite himself, right? Or a prophet. And it was placed in his house for 3 months before the ark was finally brought to the city of David, right? Let's see what it said there. So anyway, I mean, this is the point I was trying to really get across here today, is that the Ark of the Covenant could never, ever, ever be sitting in a place called Ethiopia, in some place called Axum, and being there for 3,000 years under the stewardship or the guardian of these so-called Ethiopians, these so-called monks that they call them virgin monks, right? Who are supposedly Falasha, who are supposed to be Jews, but they are Falasha Jews, false Jews. It could never, ever, ever, ever be sitting in the place of Ethiopia. Never. The Ark of the Covenant is in Mount Sinai, hidden in a cave somewhere where no one knows. And believe me when I tell you this, these so-called devils, Edomites, are scanning every crevice and every corner, every cavity on Mount Sinai to see if they can find it. Just like how they dug up the pyramids and they scanned the pyramids from the outside to see where all of the hidden chambers were, where the Egyptians had buried their pharaohs and where they had put their wealth. Because remember, the Egyptians, when they buried their pharaohs, they buried them with their wealth, with their gold, because they believed they were going to an afterlife, to another life where they can bring their gold and their silver and their chariots, and they even buried their maids and their servants with them, the Egyptians. And what these devils did, these Edomites, they used laser technology to scan where the chambers were, where there's like open cavities, where they can work out where there's a hole inside the pyramids. That's how they were able to find most of those chambers inside those pyramids. So believe me when I tell you, Esau Edom is doing the exact same thing on Mount Sinai. All right, they are scanning every crevice, every cavity, every hole, every part of it, trying to see if they can find where the Ark of the Covenant. But just like Jeremiah said in the book of just like Maccabees said in the book of 2 Maccabees chapter 2, Jeremiah hid the ark, and where he hid it, them themselves didn't even know the route to get back to it, because the Lord said the Ark of the Covenant is only gonna come out again when he comes to gather the children of Israel from the 4 corners of the world, right? Remember what we said there in 2 Maccabees chapter 2 verse 4. It says, just so you can, we finish here again, we finish where we started. It was also contained in the same writing that the prophet, being warned of the Most High, commanded the tabernacle and the ark of the Most High, right, with him, right, and the ark of the Most High to go with him as he went forth into the mountain where Moses climbed up, which is Mount Sinai, and saw the heritage of the Most High, right, which is his chariot. And when Jeremiah came thither, he found a hollow cave wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark of the Most High and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door, which means he blocked up the door. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it. So even the passageway that they marked, those Israelites that came with Jeremiah that helped him bring those things up there, right, could not find the way that they left to be able to go back to where they'd hid the ark, the incense table and the tabernacle. It says here, which when Jeremiah perceived, he blamed them, saying, as for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that the Most High gathers his people, which are the 12 tribes of Israel that were scattered to the 4 corners of the world, right, again together, right, until he gathers these people again together, which are all the 12 tribes, and receives them unto mercy, which is the salvation that the elect of Israel are going to receive, right? Then shall the Lord, right, show them these things, right, and the glory of the Lord shall appear. The things that he's going to show us is the Ark of the Covenant. All those things are going to be given back to us. They're going to be revealed where it is. We're going to go and gather it, right? Because remember, in the kingdom, all of the Israelites are going to be priests. Remember that. We're all going to be priests. No, it's not just going to be the Levites no more. All the 12 tribes are going to be priests, right? It says, then shall the Lord show them these things, and the glory of the Lord shall appear, and the cloud also as it showed them under Moses, and as when Solomon desired that the place might be honorably sanctified. And the cloud that he's talking about are the chariots of the Lord. So like I said, I don't think I need to go any more into this, man. I believe I've got to the point I want to show you that the Ark of the Covenant is still in Mount Sinai, hidden somewhere, and it's not going to be revealed until the day of judgment and salvation. All right? So on that note, I pray this was an edifying lesson to all the Akayams out there. Shalom to the brothers and sisters out there. And like I said, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, and double honors to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All praise and glory to the Father and Son. Shalom Akayams.